So, I'll be honest. I have been avoiding this video. I know that a lot of you have asked me to make a video on this topic, but I had to start getting honest with myself and saying, okay, why am I avoiding this? The topic? Grief. The loss of our animal family members and what it does to us. At this point in the world, are you going to be able to be okay hearing something that's such a downer? It's about loss. And then I realized that it's probably not about you. It's probably more about me. I'm avoiding it because it's not always the easiest thing to talk about. That's the point. The point is, I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to talk about it. And that's what we're going to start getting into. Why is that? Why don't we? I'll go first. The past couple of years in my home, in my life, has been riddled with loss, both humans and animal family members. And it got to the point where you just sort of experience it in the moment and you just keep going. And that's, I think, in a way, how we're taught. Okay, you can grieve, but then, tick-tock. I then met Stephanie Rogers, and she is a grief counselor, an animal companion loss specialist. One of the first things that she said to me got me, I started to cry on a phone call so I could sort of toughen up a little bit. But what she said was, when we grieve, we don't experience one loss, we experience them all. That was the truth. When I thought about the passing of Pishi, our Pishi, and it was a very tough loss for us to take, I didn't just experience him. It opened the door all the way back. I lost my mom in 2016, and I still don't like talking about that one. And it opened up this thing in me where, and it's a very childlike response, but we all carry that in us, where I actually thought that if I gave this enough air, it would turn me into dust, that I would just completely crumble. And in that moment, I started to cry. And like I just said, I went like this. It's in your best interest not to do, because then all you're doing is carrying it and carrying it and carrying it. There are three big emotional takeaways that I had from my first talk with Stephanie. The first one was, the door opens. It's not just one, but many. Oh my God, I don't want to turn to dust. Number two was this concept of, you should just get over it. Take the time, take the weekend, and then then just come back to work. Do what you do. And Stephanie at that point said, it's so absurd to think that at some point, you just get to the top of Grief Mountain. And I was like, wait, that's me. That's right. What the hell? Grief Mountain. My wife comes from Iran. In Iran, she tells me that it is absolutely expected that when your family member dies, you then wear black for a year. And at first I was like, well, that's just a little over the top. She said, no, what it is, you're signaling to your community that you should be treated differently, but in a supporting way. They should go out of their way to comfort you, or to offer you things, or to cook for you, or whatever that is, for a year. Here, now, get over it. Top of Grief Mountain. The third concept, and really this one applies very much to those of us, obviously, if you're watching this, then you've lost an animal family member, or at least one. And it's the concept of disenfranchised grief. Grief that a person experiences when they incur a loss that is not or cannot be openly acknowledged, societally sanctioned, or publicly mourned. Things like miscarriage, stillbirth, suicide, murder, all of these can be defined as disenfranchised loss. Your loss can't be acknowledged because you're afraid of either it will be dismissed, it will be devalued, or you'll be scorned or laughed at. Tell me that that's not you, because it's me for sure. If you have lost an animal family member in our society, in society at large, you have been disenfranchised. You know what that feeling is like. So with those three things in mind, with loss, we experience many. top of grief mountain, get over it. And disenfranchised loss. Your loss is not as much as somebody who has lost a human family member to whatever. That puts all of us in a boat right now. And that's a disenfranchised boat. But the good news is we can be enfranchised together. You're not alone. In fact, you are far from alone. There are millions and millions, tens of millions of people around the world who have lost animal members and have not known what to do with that grief. You're not alone. Nor are you immature or weak. Those are the things that have been fed to you, either just societally, unconsciously, or overtly. I am here to tell you that it's nonsense. It's not the truth. You are experiencing loss. I'd like to give you this sort of 3-step exercise that Stephanie assigned to me. So the first step is just writing. This is who I've lost. This is how I lost them. That's important. Just write it. That's called, in Stephanie's language, she calls it naming and claiming your loss. The second step is to now write, how has my world changed because of this loss? So now we're starting to embrace the fact that we have lost. And then the third part here, how do I incorporate this loss into my life? You know, I can think of ways that I've done it. I suffered a loss during the filming of one of the episodes of My Cat from Hell. It was in the middle of filming it, and it just happened to be about this, that my client had lost this dog. He had died, and her cat was the dog's best friend. And now she couldn't look at her cat without thinking about this loss, and her relationship with the cat just disappeared. So we were talking about the rituals that we could create to help her move with this deep emotion. In the meantime, my dog, Rudy's heart was failing. She was in intensive care, and I was just possessed with the thought that I was going to not be there for her when she died. I couldn't function. All I could do was cry, and I just wanted them to call off this episode so I could come home and be with my Rudy, and I couldn't get out of there. Finally, my showrunner, she said to me, please just share this with us. Do what you have to do, but speak to everybody. And I promise you, when we're done, we'll dedicate this episode to her. That I said my piece, I celebrated the ability to bring somebody else out of a state of disenfranchised grief.
For his first year, he was a very happy cat. Anybody could play with him. He was really close to our Chihuahua, Tiffany. And then she passed away, and then that's when everything changed.
Animals grieve as profoundly and deeply as humans do, and we got proof right here. My dog, she's getting ready now, and the loss of an animal is hell, obviously, you know. Excuse me. And then the final screen was dedicated to Rudy. I can still barely talk about Rudy. Clearly. It's okay. I carry the love, I carry the loss. If I cry a little bit, I cry a little bit. It's my way of honoring her. Another way of honoring, you know, you guys may have over the years known about Valoria, who was with me for half my life. She died at 26 years old a few years ago. How do I honor her? I will show you. There's just one way. This necklace. This necklace has her on it. Every time I put it on, I think about it. I carry the loss, I carry the love. And this goes for everybody, human and animal. Now that I've got this new perspective, I say, I need to name it and claim it. I need to not be ashamed of it. How dare the world tell me that this isn't loss? I'm not going to be ashamed of it. I don't, and it has changed my life dramatically. I can't, I'm trying to find the words. And, I'm not usually at a loss for words, but naming and claiming, acknowledging, knowing that this will be my life and it's okay. It's better to have loved and lost, right, than to have never loved at all. And I thank the universe on a daily basis that I can look around here, and I'm just going to name some. There's Valoria, Benny, Lily, Barry. My God, there's a lot, but I am so lucky. You are so lucky. If you're watching this video, you're watching it because you've lost somebody and you don't quite know what to do with it. And I'm just telling you, whatever it is that you do with it, do with it. Don't get over it, because that's just a construct that somebody else put on us. But what I am going to tell you also is, you're not going to turn to dust. So, if you're watching this and you've lost somebody, hopefully some of the messages here that helped me so much will help you. If you know somebody who has lost, and maybe you don't quite get it, hopefully you do now, because what you do with that moving forward will help the person who's grieving immeasurably. Because when a community comes together, they mourn together. It is so much easier than mourning by yourself. Now more than ever, this is something that I think we all need to get our heads, our hands, and our hearts around. For humans, for animals, for all of us. So, more than ever, I wish you and yours both present, light, love, mojo.
Meow.